What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have the Novice 2 ready to fly. What's up guys, welcome to today's review. I'm Justin Davis. Today I have something pretty awesome here for the new guys. This is an all-in-one ready to fly kit with goggles. It has a radio in this box and batteries, a charger, and everything you need to get started in flying FPV. Now the cool thing about this combo is that it does have one of my favorite 1S chargers, and you can fly this little quad on 1 or 2S. So either way you want to start out, you can start out with a lot of speed on 2S, or you can fly 1S and have a little more control. It also comes with Betaflight pre-installed on the quad, which is really nice because if you want to play around with the on-screen display, change your pilot name on there, you can change all kinds of information, add or take away things from the screen and customize it and make it look like how you want it to look like. That's the greatest thing about on-screen display inside Betaflight, and the fact that the software running on there is actually open source, so it gets updates regularly from the programming community, and we have some new features being added all the time to these quads, so it's just an ongoing project around the world, which is really nice. So the Novice 2, it does come with Eachine goggles. They are kind of like starter goggles, and I'll put some links down below to my preferred goggles. If you want to spend a little more money, you can spend around the $200 to $300 to $400 range for some analog goggles, and you can go up all the way up to $500 if you want to, but depending on your budget. Today we're talking about doing this with a less of an expensive budget in mind, something a little easier to just get your feet wet in FPV and find out if you actually like it or not. And that's the big thing about FPV. Some people try it, it's not for them, but the majority of people that try it and put on the goggles for the first time and you get inside that quad in the cockpit, it totally changes everything. It will change your life, and it changed mine. But let's go ahead and put this on the bench and let me show you this. I think you're gonna like what you see. A little closer up, let me show you the case and everything and what comes included with the Novice 2 ready to fly. Here we go. All right guys, here it is. And let me just go ahead and say before I get started with this sort of unboxing and overview and review and opinion on the Novice 2, that this is a different version than the previous Novice 2. This one is the version 2 with the Flysky transmitter. It is the FS-16 and this is a very versatile transmitter. You can fly several models on this. So if you started out with this combo and this quad, you can bind up other models that have Flysky receivers on there. So on the Banggood website right now, it's crazy. This is actually on a flash sale. I just looked at it. It says it's $149 right now. So 149 US dollars for everything you see here to go out and fly with 2 batteries to start with is pretty awesome. The greatest thing about this whole combo, in my opinion, is the fact that you can fly these 1S 450s on there, and these are really pretty cheap to buy. These are also HVs. They have that PH 2.0 connector on there, and you can fly at 1S, or you have the option to fly at 2S, because it does have 2 different plugs on the bottom that come out from the single VBAT power input on the flight controller, or on the all-in-one flight controller we have here, with 5 amp ESCs on board. We have a 200 milliwatt VTX, which is really nice. We have a Cadex EOS 2 camera on here, which is not really my favorite camera, but we have that classic top plate here, which you can also add something like the Insta360 Go on top and produce some really cool cinema quality video. 1080p stabilized, by the way. I'll try to put the link for that one as well. We have a dipole coming out the back right here for your 200 milliwatt video transmission, and there should be a Flysky receiver on here somewhere. If not, it is the built-in SPI receiver, and SPI is just built right into the flight board. This is an F4 flight controller with Betaflight on there. You can find the USB port on the very bottom. It has these 2 TPU mounts on the bottom. You could take these off to save a little bit of weight and use maybe like a battery strap, but these will work pretty good because they do fit the 2S configuration quite well. If you're going to fly it on 1S, it might be a little more sketchy because it could come loose a little bit on you, but it seems to be pretty snug in there when I do put it in there. It shouldn't move around too much unless you crash. It could fly out, but with 2 in there, it fits just perfect. And then you have your connector back here, and these are the 2 connectors, and you can fly at 1S or 2S. If you wanted to have it super snug, if you're flying at 1S, you could always just put one on there, plug in one at a time, and then fly the other one after you're done with the first one. Now the motors on here are also what I call my micro brushless sweet spot, and I've been flying micro brushless for years on the Drone Cams channel, and these are 1103 8500 kV motors. Very nice motors. 2 bolts on the top. This is a 65 millimeter prop, and these are bi-blade props, and they're super smooth. When you turn this quad on and fly for the first time, you'll feel like it has a lot of float. It is an awesome freestyle quad if you want to do tricks and stuff, or you can just fly straight ahead because it does come with stability mode on a switch. There's also an arm switch on here that you have to activate, and you'll see that the motors spin up. If you don't have the motor spinning up, it is possible that this quad has motor stop on inside Betaflight. If that's the case, make sure you turn motor stop off, because you want to know that your quad is armed when you hit the arm switch and you have that low idle, and that low idle should be air mode. And air mode just keeps your quad from dropping to the ground when you get to 0 throttle. It just keeps about 10% or so motor power throttle in the motor when you're flying. It just keeps a quad from turning into a rock, basically. It does have pretty tall standoffs on here as well, and actually quite thick camera protection up front. We have about 2.5 millimeter there on those 2 side plates. That's really thick for the size of this quad. And 2.5 millimeter unibody X-frame bottom plate. So very nice, but the quad fits just down here like this with the props on in the box. That I love. Fits down like this, and the transmitter itself, this takes 4 AA batteries, and you can also fly this on simulators as well. A lot of Flysky guys around the world fly the FPV simulator with this. So if that's something you're looking for, that is a really nice option. It also has a computer display right here that you can go in and change things. You could even fly fixed wing with this particular transmitter. Now also in the box you get this charger right here, and I've shown this charger so many times on my channel, and I recommend buying one because it's not very expensive. I think they're about $10, but you can charge up to 6 1S batteries at a time. And the PH2 connector is here, and the original style 1S connector is here. These aren't used as much anymore because these are a little better as far as voltage output and less sag in the battery. You can plug in a 4S 1300. Now this one's a 1550, but you can plug this in, and it's very simple to get your batteries charging. All you have to do is take your battery, and you want to make sure that this is an HV setting on there, and the way you do that is just this little switch right here. Switch it to the up position and it will charge to a max of 4.35 volts, and that is per cell. So you only have one cell here. If it's 4.20, that's a standard LiPo setting. And the top switch on each terminal here is how much you're putting in. So you can do 0.2 amp for, or 0.3 amp for a slow charge, or 0.5 amp there on the top. So I'm going to do a fast charge on 0.5 amp, and this one's fully charged and ready to go. On the other side over here, we also have an AC input. They make an adapter for this, so you can actually plug it in the wall, which is really nice, and then you can charge at home, or you can charge in the field with this setup. And you also have an additional 2 amp output for any type of iPhone or Android phone or device, which is really nice. So super cool little charger. It does not have a built-in fan, it just has a heat sink in the back and plenty of venting. And these things will get some heat to them. Just never leave these batteries charging alone. Go to the store or leave them all by themselves charging. You will always want to be around for your LiPos charging. They can start a fire in your house, so be very careful with these. But you also have 8 slots here for extra batteries. You could even put more up in here. You have tons of room in the very top right here. We have sort of a little mesh pouch up here with some additional stuff. You have some information here for how to bind it up, how to use your battery charger, as well as some flight controller diagrams. And the best thing about this quad, I think, is that it's all plug and play. When I say plug and play, I mean that everything on this quad has a plug, which is nice. So if you break a motor, you burn up the camera, on the bottom of this quad you can see there's plugs here. And the same thing for the VTX and the camera, it just plugs in. No soldering required if you crash this or you break something, which for the new guys is golden. But if you're a new guy, you want to start out with a TS100 soldering iron, and I really need to put a link down below for that. If I forget it, please let me know. Sounds like some batteries are done. These are some additionals that you get in the box. Extra set of 65mm props, which is sweet. Prop remover tool, screwdriver. You get this little plug in here. It's very important for flying 1S. You plug this in one side and then you can fly at 1S. Take it out to fly 2. And some extra bolts. And it looks like extra little M2 plastic nuts in there. And you also get a little diagram instructional as well. Additional information on your Flysky FS-16 transmitter, which is cool. Also how to use BLHeli suite that runs on the PC as well as the Mac. More information about your VTX settings, how to change it to 200 milliwatt. It will come in 25 milliwatt stock, and the settings you need to bind up the AF-HDS2A receiver, and I believe that's the one that's on mine for that FS-16 transmitter. So everything fits back in the box, and you really have a lot of room in this case. They gave you quite a large case for this setup, which I really like. I think that if you want to upgrade to some better goggles later, the cool thing is that you could cut out this foam right here and you could fit in a full-size pair of goggles. You can see that this would absolutely fit my Skyzones in here. These are my goggles of choice right now. These are the cream of the crop analog goggles 04X. They just came out. They come with a module. This is a diversity module. You'll have to put 2 antennas here, and I usually have my recommended antennas down below, as well as an extra bay over here. If you want to run quadversity, you can run 2 of these modules at once and really get a nice solid video feedback to these goggles. Really plush around the faceplate, and you get 2 different size faceplates with this set of goggles. You get a smaller, narrow one, and you get a wider faceplate for guys that have a little larger head than me. But the Eachine goggles that come along with it, they're, as you can see, they're not quite as good as something like a pair of binocular style goggles, which the Skyzone 04Xs are. You can see 2 screens there at the top, and then this one has a singular screen, so this is called a box goggle, and it has similar foam padding, but these are usually better for people with a little smaller head, and maybe, you know, if you're a kid and you're getting started, you're going to take these off inside the box. You also get these 2 antennas right here, which will screw onto this. And so this has several different menu settings here. You go into the menu, you press this button for auto search, and it'll loop through all the bands and channels, and it'll find your video signal coming from your quad. And you can do bands there, and there's usually about 8 bands and about 40 some channels. I mean, you can change channels on this one. You got an AV port here, a USB port, battery indicator, and this is the power button. Press and hold there, and it turns on the goggles. So you can see it starts up with the Eachine logo there and goes straight into the static feed. But in real time, the greatest thing about analog video is that there's virtually no lag, and that's what we need for FPV. So if you're brand new to flying FPV, that's why a lot of the video doesn't look as good as like your typical DJI goggles look. We're not running OcuSync on this. It doesn't have Wi-Fi. This is made for flying really fast and in some pretty small places. So that's the benefit of analog video. And if you already have a bunch of analog quads already, or you plan to just stick with analog, because these quads are cheaper than the DJI quads. If you're more of a budget, but you want like premium goggles, grab these. But if you're just going to stick with these for a while and figure out whether you like FPV or not, this is kind of the way to go. So $150 for everything in the box, and it's actually updated to 2020, late 2020, not like some 2016 gear off of Craigslist. Try to avoid that if you can. I've seen a lot of people get burnt on Craigslist buying really old quad setups that people just had sitting around in their closet, which is not the way to go. So I appreciate you guys watching my reviews, and hopefully you learned a little something today. If you're brand new and just getting into FPV, this is the channel to subscribe to, because I pretty much do a new quad review almost daily on the channel, and all kinds of really cool stuff here on the channel, as well as the full review coming up on my new Skyzone 04X goggles. Thanks again, guys. Take care. This has been the Novice 2 V2. I'll see you on the next one.